Planet Dolan.
From the invention of the wheel to interplanetary spacecraft, we tried just about every method of getting from A to B. However, did we always get it right? And were some designs better left on the drawing board? Here are 15 of the dumbest vehicles ever. I'm Hellbent, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 15. British viewers will recognize this three-wheeled terror from Only Fools and Horses, while others may know the Reliant Robin from Mr. Bean. First produced in 1973, the car looks incredibly unstable, which is perhaps why it only sold well in the UK. The reason for removing the wheel, it seems, is because drivers only needed a motorcycle license to drive one. Also, you need a strong stomach in my opinion. Number 14. In 1890, the US Navy requested 35 battleships for the nation's defense. Congress compromised and agreed to make 3 ships covered in as many weapons as possible. The result was the US Massachusetts BB-2, whose guns weighed over 500 tons, and if they all pointed in the same direction, half the boat would sink. It was decommissioned shortly after being built and suffering a number of accidents and now lies at the bottom of the sea in Florida. Number 13. The perfect car for an insecure man with something to prove. The Hummer H2 is a flashy sports utility truck with one of the worst fuel efficiency ratings ever. Getting as little as 9 miles to the gallon, you'd be better off burning dollar bills as fuel. The H2 drove nothing like the Humvee off-road vehicles, had tiny windows and very low ceilings. After 7 years on the market, this gas guzzler's sales had dropped to just 600 annually. Number 12. In 2010, designers in Beijing revealed the design of a bus that could drive over traffic with elevated sides that allowed cars to pass underneath like a tunnel. Despite numerous concerns, including how freaked out drivers would be if a huge bus drove over them, the Chinese city of Qinghuangdao installed tracks for the bus, hopeful for further investment. But the government declared the project a scam in 2017, and now it lies rusting in a warehouse. Number 11. Everyone recognizes the iconic DeLorean DMC-12 from the Back to the Future movie franchise, but production of the DeLorean company's only model had started 4 years before the first film came out. The cars were expensive, at over $600,000 in today's money, and the gimmicky wing doors solved a problem that never existed and possibly put a dent in many garage ceilings. The company went bankrupt after only a couple of years of production. Number 10. Dr. William Whitney Christmas had no experience in designing, building, or flying aircraft, yet he managed to convince investors, namely his brothers, to finance the project of building an airplane to kidnap the German Kaiser in World War I. The wooden plane produced as a result lacked struts that supported its wings, allowing them to flap like a bird's. The test flight in 1919 crashed and killed the pilot, but Christmas kept marketing it, conducting a second fatal test months later. Number 9. Would you like a pickup truck, convertible sports car, and a retro 50s classic car? What about all rolled into one? In 2004, Chevy made no one's dream come true by releasing the SSR, one of the ugliest automobiles to ever cruise America's roads. The Chevy SSR shook like crazy when the top was down and looked even more ridiculous with the top up. 20,000 of these monstrosities were sold until production was ceased in 2006. Number 8. In 1985, successful British computer company SINCLAIR decided to try their hand in the electric car market, making the SINCLAIR C5, which even looked like a computer. The handlebars were under the knees of the rider. The battery lasted less than 20 miles, the motor was prone to overheating, and the riders were unprotected from rain or other vehicles' exhaust fumes. Journalists at the launch of the C5 quickly discovered all of these flaws, and the vehicle was a colossal failure. Number 7. The 1920s and 30s was the heyday for airships. Companies such as the German Zeppelin flew all over the world in giant gas-filled balloons. Many of these dirigible balloons used helium, which is relatively stable, but a large proportion were filled with a lighter hydrogen, an explosively flammable gas. The most famous of these was the Hindenburg, which exploded in 1937, killing its passengers and putting an end to the airship era.
Number 6.
Riding a bicycle is a fast and easy alternative to walking, so it does seem strange that a German team of designers would make a bike which is powered by walking or running. The rider is suspended from a harness that hangs on an arch-shaped frame, and they push the bike by running with their dangling legs, like a baby in a bouncer. The FLIZ bike is the bike for cyclists who don't think they look dorky enough yet.
Number 5.
From the shores of Lake Maggiore in Italy in 1921, engineers from the Caproni Aviation Company watched as the prototype transatlantic passenger aircraft crashed into the water. The ridiculous construction featured 9 wings, 8 engines, and a train-sized carriage for 100 travelers. The head of the Caproni Company arrived to see the gigantic wreckage fall apart as it was towed to shore. Further work on the CA-60 was suspended and the company went back to normal-sized planes.
Number 4.
During World War II, New Zealand feared invasion from the Japanese and lacked the support to defend themselves. So Bob Semple, Minister for Public Works, set about designing a way to convert the country's farming tractors into armored fighting machines. The result was a top-heavy, corrugated metal sheet absurdity that had no cannon, but rather 6 machine guns. It was 4 meters tall, weighed 25 tons, and traveled at a blazing 5 miles per hour. Luckily, New Zealand was never invaded.
Number 3.
A sleek and stylish appearance, advanced steering, compact design, the Ford Pinto sold well after its introduction in 1970. However, a genius designer had positioned the fuel tank close to the flimsy rear bumper, meaning that a slight knock from behind and your new car was likely to go up in a ball of flames. The Ford company knew about the danger from early on, but they deemed the cost of recall and repair too high to be worth saving a few lives.
Number 2.
At the turn of the 20th century, the roads were changing. Horses were losing their jobs as noisy automobiles were taking over. In order to ease the transition and to stop frightening horses, Michigan inventor Uriah Smith designed a car with a fake horse's head. Smith had hoped that real horses would be less spooked by a familiar face, and this might sound like a good idea, except the head also doubled as a fuel tank, which is a terrifying prospect.
Number 1.
The American Army in the 1950s obviously decided that the helicopter was far too safe, so they developed a one-man personal chopper where the pilot stood on a tiny platform above the rotating blades. The vehicle was intended to be operated by an untrained soldier after only 20 minutes of instruction, but testing determined that not only was that unlikely, but also that the flying machine had a bad habit of smashing into rocks, breaking the rotors, and crashing. This video was made possible by our fans over on Patreon. Thanks for your support, guys. I hope I never have to set foot on any of these death machines. Well, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.